I do want to get into the Oppenheimer and the Manhattan Project stuff soon, but there's the unionization and the radicalization of the running back position in the NFL, where you saw a bunch of guys not get long-term contracts. They're franchise tagging Saquon Barkley, and he's threatening to sit out and basically saying, I'm not going to play.
He should absolutely sit out.
So running backs across the league, more and more recently, it's been happening gradually, I think, over the last, 12 years or so. But this year, it's a big talking point where running backs are kind of standing up for each other and saying, well, you're not ever going to pay us. We need to do something about this. You've got big insight into what happens at that position and how it's treated in the NFL. They're talking like Derrick Henry is like, I stand with all my running backs. Jonathan Taylor's like, I stand with all my running backs out there. There's probably no good way to fix the problem because general managers have, what's that?
There's a great way. You get rid of the franchise tag. You get rid of that shit. It does nothing. It's the only major sport with it. Like when people are up for free agency, then you hit the market, right? It's the most restrictive thing in professional sports. And so it all it does is that, right? It's to devalue your market value. That's exactly what it is, and that's why the owners won't get rid of it, because it does a good job of what it does. But also, all of these, I don't want to hear ESPN talking heads. I don't want to hear none of it, and maybe you were part of it too. But motherfuckers for a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades, have been talking about that the running back is devalued. The running back is dime a dozen. You can get him anywhere. You can pick him up in 3rd round. You can pick anybody up anywhere. Talent is talent, and you deserve to get paid. Like, dog, I spent 2 years behind a minimum salary because of that same thought process. And so it's like, and I hate the talking point that they have the shortest careers. They're the shortest careers because it's the hardest fucking position to play. And what I mean by that is it is the one position in the NFL that if you the moment you can see the moment that there's a drop off in productivity. You can see the year it happens. There's he's not what he used to be, because it's so prevalent, because the physicality of it is not like any other position. Quarterback, you can get away with it for years. Receiver, you can get away with it for years. Lineman, you could get away with every other position. There's this cushion to where cats cannot play up to their best potential but still be productive. At the running back position, the metric is way harsher, and it's like, oh, he's dropped off. He's useless to us now, and that's and it's a hard position to play. But for years, people have been devaluing the running back in the media, whereas the football used to be all about the running back. Remember back in the days of ED and Walter Payton, and played 13 seasons, and Barry Sanders and those kind of cats, where it was all about the running back. It always comes back to the running back. I say this all the time. It always comes back to the running back. Cold weather games, always gonna run the ball. Playoff football, always gonna run the ball and play D. That's how you build championship teams. All the championship teams are built like that. But it's the devalue of over years and years and years over the media, talking about how low value running backs are, yada yada yada, and now this is the backlash of it. Cats is working their ass off and they don't get paid. When you have rookies coming in making more than a running back will ever will, that has actually done good. There's plenty of time, you see running backs take over a game all the time, but they're not valuable. That's fucking stupid. It's just dumb. They're one of the most valuable positions on the field, but we just don't look at it like that, because it takes way more. It's a way more physical position, and so therefore your longevity of being at the top of your game is shorter. But for that reason, you should get paid faster.
Yeah, we were saying the other day that removing the franchise tag from running backs in particular,
period,
would probably be
what's the point of them?
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't know.
And also put in incentivized production across the board. Because if you have an undrafted rookie who comes out and has 1,000-yard season, has 10 plus touchdowns, you got millions of dollars of value, you paid him peanuts. Mm-hmm. So incentivize all of this shit. Incentivize it, right. It's as a club, but they're not going to do that because, again, in our society we don't value workers, we don't value labor, we value productivity, but we don't value the workers producing. All we do is value the contracts that we write up, and it's just who could write the sweeter deal on either side, and it's ridiculous. How many quarterbacks that ain't did shit in the NFL that got $50 million, and there's running backs in the league that have put in work in this league and have made a great, have produced, and they'll never get the money they deserve. Not only that, they have to deal with the physical ailments that some of these quarterbacks and some of these cats who just getting thrown money at them that I've never had to deal with. Like I got lucky. I got a good contract. I got people around me take care of my money, but there's cats out here hurting. We can't even lobby for healthcare. Sorry, I'm on my fucking tangent, but we can't even lobby for healthcare for life if you play in the league. So like these motherfuckers is full of shit. NFL's full of shit. They're always gonna be full of shit because it's a money making venture. It ain't about people.
You put it well. I think that they should get rid of the franchise tag. It's something that we've just grown accustomed to over the years, talking about like, oh, they tagged this guy. Oh, they're going to tag this guy. It's become so woven into the fabric of discussing football and talking about the NFL and transactions and things like that, that we don't really think about what the franchise tag is or what it does or the leverage that it gives the teams over the players. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't get rid of the franchise tag.
Pointless. All it does, it just helps owners devalue their players. That's all it does.
Do you think if they got rid of the franchise tag that would lead to more running backs getting big long-term contracts, or that they would just say, okay, we won't re-sign you, we'll just go draft somebody else?
Well, they could do that after the franchise tag anyway, so it doesn't.
I know, but I'm saying, like, if you get rid of the franchise tag, I think what might happen in practice is you end up, like, instead of getting that 1 or 2 years where you get $12 million, whatever the percentage of the top earners or whatever the franchise tag is.
I think it's 10 right now.
Then you would just not get that at all, and then they'd go draft somebody in the 6th round.
Do you think that you can draft somebody in the 6th round and get the production of a Saquon Barkley?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's what teams might do rather than like
that's the gamble that they're willing to risk. That's their business. I guarantee you, there's a team out there who says you're gonna let him hit the free market. I'll gladly pay him. There'll be a team out there that do it. That's what the free market is.
Yeah, exactly. I think Arian's right in that there's that steep drop off in productivity for a running back once you get to a certain age, once you get a certain number of carries under your belt, where the wear and tear catches up to you. If you even take out 1 year of the franchise tag, where they're not playing under a long-term contract, that 1 year would be enough to get more running backs paid, because let's say you play 4 years, right?
And that's too long
off your rookie deal. So right now the rookie deal is 4 years, right? I depending on round, I think that there's different.
Majority is 4 years. Mine was 2.
Right. So after 4 years, that's probably the sweet spot for running backs, right? Maybe 3-4 seasons in the league. When the top running backs emerge, it's probably after 2-3-4 seasons. If you can get that person to a free market, free agency situation 1 year faster even, then you let the other teams out there. There's probably, 20 teams a year, 15 teams a year that are in the market for a impact player at the running back position. Let them compete against each other. Sure, some teams will be like, yeah, we'll pay you 1 year, $12 million or whatever. But if it's a true competitive market situation where you've got 15 other teams that are weighing in on it, there's going to be somebody that'll be like, you know what, we'll do 3 years, $35 million, because we want this guy. We need this guy that much on our team. He's the final piece to a puzzle. Get him to free agency faster without with the franchise tag or the transition tag, and then that seems to me like it would actually make a difference.
I think it would in the long run for sure, but
because you take out that 1 year of maybe that is the year where they hit that steep drop off,
Yeah, I mean it's all about like little wins like that. I mean that's how we got free agency in the first place. Because you remember, like NFL, you just did not have free agency. But again, I don't see it ever being plausible. The NFLPA and NFL have to negotiate that, and that will take decades upon decades. And labor strikes, you see it happen all over the world. You see it happening with UPS, you see it happening with Amazon, you see it everywhere. When people are not getting paid their market value, your only leverage is to not show up. Don't do it.
What if the NFLPA was like, we'll let you test us for weed again if you just get rid of the franchise tag? The owners would laugh you out of the room. They'd be like, we don't give a shit about weed. We just pretended to care about weed testing for 20 years because it was a chip that we had in our pile that we could use to negotiate.
That's another one that they fucked a lot of cats over, man. Like Josh Gordon comes to mind immediately. Like really derailed their career because of some stupid little rule that you made up. It's just sad. I don't know, man. The NFL is continually reactive and not proactive, and they pretend to give a shit about their players. That's what bothers me so much about them motherfuckers. Is they pretend to give a fuck, and they do not give a fuck. And if you did give a fuck, you would be proactive. They literally hid concussion studies. They just do everything in their power to get every last dollar that they can. And that's American business. That's capitalism at its finest. But these are the repercussions of it. You got disgruntled workers.
Quick question on the Josh Gordon situation. Rumor I heard, which totally is unsubstantiated and might be totally wrong, was that it wasn't all of his drug tests that he was popping for. It wasn't really weed, but that's what they told the press why he was testing positive for something, but it might have been other substances, but they just said it was weed because it was the best cover-up. Do you think there's any truth to that? Because aren't you not able to release what they tested positive for?
Unless the player comes out and says they busted me for XYZ. And if the player says that and it's not the truth, then I think that the NFL can say, well, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, I don't know.
Might be wrong about that.
If it was a performance enhancing substance, they would have said that. They wouldn't have said weed. So if it was another recreational drug, which is just as stupid for testing for, they would have said otherwise.
Mm. Also, quick point on the running back discussion. Do we think global warming, which is causing less cold weather games, might be affecting their value because more passing offenses in hotter weather? Do we think polar bears and running backs, we got to save both of them?
Yeah, also dome stadiums. The proliferation of indoor football is killing the running back position. How about that take?
Also,
I mean, it may play a factor actually, but again, just pay your fucking people. Pay your fucking people.
Also,
I think most common sense fans would agree with the fact that the franchise tag is bullshit when you really sit down and think about it. I'll be honest. I have
funny
not,
though, like there's
I've
a guy in
not
the
spent
stands with a sign, some franchise him, like
yeah,
okay, weirdo.
Like put it there. Like if you think about the term franchise tag, it's like you're like pinning something on a person. Like this is we're gonna tag you. We're gonna tag you.
Wow,
like you're a game warden.
Cattle.
Yeah, it's become so much a part of like the discussion around the league and strategy about building a roster that fans have just kind of. I don't think that many of us have stopped and thought really about what the franchise tag is and why it's there.
Isn't the NFL one of those like that? Is it the MLB that don't have a salary cap, right?
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, they've got luxury tax and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so the NFL has a salary cap as well, and I guess they do that to keep the competitive balance or whatever. But fuck that shit too.
So with the salary cap, they have it in place. They say because it promotes small markets, so it makes it a more level playing field where a team, like the Browns could go out and give Deshaun Watson a bunch of money and not have to worry about a team like the Dallas Cowboys giving him twice that because they have it.
That shit's stupid.
But think about Kansas City. You got billionaires will go anywhere to buy a team, and it's not necessarily correlated to their brand. Like Kansas City would be, am I wrong? Like kind of a small market compared to other cities that have teams.
Yeah, but Kansas City is definitely.
You would be advocating for the salary cap then. Like in baseball, generally speaking, like the small market teams more often than not suck.
Yeah.
I
So
s-
you can look at examples like baseball is the perfect example of that. Like the Yankees have been a dominant franchise, at least, they were for a while because they can afford to spend all the money that they want on these big name players, whereas a team like the Reds, not so competitive recently, until maybe this year.
But in the modern era, almost those guys haven't been that competitive.
What, the Yankees?
Right, in the modern era.
I like that take, Billy. It's a spicy take, but
No,
I'm
it
also
sucks.
very confused
As
about what the term modern era means.
Like basically the past 10 years.
But
Like,
LA has been dominant.
And the Yankees still spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
Just because they're not
And they
winning
have-
doesn't mean they're not spending the most money.
They have made it into the playoffs, and it's the expectation that they're in the playoffs every single year.
Just as a New York sports fan, I feel that because all of the stadiums are so iconic, they don't really have to care about their teams being good because people will still go to Madison Square Garden. They'll still go to Yankee Stadium. MetLife, not so much as like a historical place that's like, but they still will, go. There's still enough companies that have boxes that are located in New York City that they'll still have enough people spending the money to go to all the games. So like,
I mean, you're
doesn't
talking
matter.
about the Yankees like they don't spend money. Their payroll this year is $186 million.
Right, but but that's just the minimum to do is just buy great talent. They won't actually concentrate on winning with that talent.
I mean, they're trying to win. By the way, that was just the 26 man. Their total payroll's 280, not 186.
Wow. Isaiah Pacheco was one of the guys that I was reading might never get paid, and that's like crazy. He's 24. He has 2 more seasons under his rookie deal, and he can't hold out for his final season, and the Chiefs can tag him. He might not hit free agency till he's like 29, which
Yeah.
is insane. Shout out
it
Carrington
sucks.
Harrison for DMing me that.
It sucks. It sucks for those guys. You feel for them. So yeah, listen, I think I'm an anti-franchise tag guy now. I think I'll join that movement.
Is there any real
Never.
Is there any
Go ahead.
real way that the franchise tag actually ever goes away though?
Wasn't it just implemented for quarterbacks? Specifically, wasn't that like
No.
Like, what would have to
Remember-
happen for them to actually get rid of it? Like, would the NFLPA have to go on strike or something?
So a couple of things. One would be, the threat of a strike as a bargaining chip. It's about what chips do the players have right now. What can they use as leverage? What can they afford to give up? Because the players would have to give something up to get rid of the tag because the owners aren't going to give away a cost-cutting tool for nothing out of the goodness of their own hearts. Like
Right.
Mad Dog, how we were talking about like the weed testing thing.
Right.
Owners don't actually care if players smoke weed.
Right.
They don't. But they pretended to care about it for a long time because they knew that if they were to dangle that in front of the players and say, hey, we'll get rid of smoking weed tests if you guys agree to an extra game in the season or something like that. So they use that to get their leverage. The players' leverage is somewhat limited right now. Basically, the players could say, we'll play an 18-game season if you guys get rid of the franchise tag.
They have all
And
the
because-
leverage in the world.
The players, they kind of do, but they don't really know how to use it that well,
It's the easiest shit you could ever do, which is nothing.
which is not work. But that's hard to implement.
Sure, but ain't nothing good happen. I mean, that's what happened with our lockout season.
Yeah.
We sat out. We was sitting out until they met certain demands. But I don't think motherfuckers care, right? So just as much as I bang on NFL owners, I also think players are in that ballpark as well. A lot of the current players, they don't give a fuck about the fraternity of NFL football players, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you see some of these older cats, and like I said, I'm lucky to have made it out the way I did. I'm very active. I'm good. My body's in good health. A lot of these cats are not, right? And a lot of these cats, everybody that plays in the NFL ain't a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it is. And so a lot of these current cats don't give a fuck about people who play before them. They want to lobby and negotiate for shit right now. And so there needs to be a larger effort on the NFLPA's part to say, yo, we need to put this in here. Like, we have to have this. But I don't think they care either, or else they would have been talking about it. Or it'd have been a major issue. I don't never see it as a major issue. And like I said, they're always going to lobby for what their bench interests are, as they should. But there has to be some solidarity on the front, and I don't think there ever is. I don't think there's going to be.
From your perspective, Arian, if that was the deal that came to the table, we'll add another game if you get rid of the franchise tag. Do you think that would be a fair deal for the players?
No. Hell no. If you add more games, then you add more risk for injury. So if you're going to give me more risk for injury, you got to pay me more. That's the only way it makes sense. You got to pay me more.
The mindset of giving something up that will negatively impact you and your health in exchange for getting rid of the franchise tag isn't nearly as appealing as the prospect of just saying, because we're going to go on strike if you don't get rid of the tag.
No, because you have one guy per year that gets franchise tag, correct?
Each team, yeah.
So that affects such a small percentage of the whole NFL that it's not worth leveraging an entire game, which does affect the entire NFL. So if you're gonna give me some, we're not playing with the same bargaining chips. You know what I mean? So that's why I say you pay me more. Like, the fact that we get paid like such a small amount for playoff games is insane as well. It's like 20 grand or something a game, something like that. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely dog shit. And like, I when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this in relative terms. So I don't want people to think that I think $20,000 is not a lot of money. That's not what I'm saying. But relatively to like a player, an average player's current salary, it's not enough to compensate for the amount of money that they make for that game. Advertisers, all of that shit. It's not enough to leverage. Like, they're making way more off of us than we are making for playing. And so when I'm talking about it in relative terms, in order for me to make another game, you're gonna have to pay me for that shit. Franchise tag is just not ethical. It's just not an ethical thing. Your leverage, that should not be on the table. We should just be talking about how that shit needs to get done away with. The only player that it helps, it would have helped somebody like me. When I was getting talked about getting franchise tagged, there was a different kind of tag I got tagged, and I forget because it's been years, but it was still a minimum salary, but I wasn't even eligible for a franchise tag. They could have tagged me in 2011 with something, which they did, which I played for a minimum salary, and then the next year they could have franchise tagged me again. But I forget what it's called. But they just did the right
tag.
No, that's a transition. I forget what it's called. But there's another kind of tag where it was just I was getting paid big minimum. 2011, same thing. 2010, 2011, I was I think I was the most productive running back in the NFL, and I got paid a total of, I think, $900,000 for both years.
Whoa.
Which is fucking ridiculous. But I think I can't remember what it's called, but they could do that twice. They just did the ethical thing, right? They just said, look, he works his ass off. They knew how hard I worked. They knew how, how reliable I was, and they did the right thing. But there's nothing ethical about a franchise tag. If somebody can, I'm open to it. What the fuck is ethical about a franchise tag other than you're just willing to take, a year off of a cat's career and not pay them their market value? So it would have, for me, coming along those first 2 years, those first 3 years, making under $1 million and having massive amounts of productivity of anybody in that position in the entire NFL. And then saying, okay, you're going to franchise tag you. We're going to give you the whole, I think at the time it was like $8 million was the average salary of all, top five. I think that's how they do it. So if you was to tell me back then, you're going to pay me $8 million for that year, I was like, shit, they can sign me up. Right. But if you're a first rounder who's already seen that kind of money, you understand that there's no guarantees in that contract. Right. So there's nothing afterwards. So you're not getting taken care of fairly. And so there's nothing ethical about it. If somebody can make the argument, I'm down to listen. But that shit is, they're just robbing people of their time and their careers, and they're just trying to save money, man.
So you mentioned the playoff payout. I think they did just recently increase it. So now it's it's $41,000 for the wild card teams, and then $46,000. It's about $46,000 if you're a division winner, playing in the wild card game, and it's 41,000 if you're a wild card team playing in the wild card game. But if you extrapolate that to how much, like 40,000, let's say average, we'll just call it $45,000. $45,000 for players in the wild card games times 17 games. That comes out to a $765,000 a year salary. And there are players that are on the field that are making, 10, 20 times that amount of money,
Yes.
if not more.
Yes. It's still pennies.
I just wonder if there are any players in the NFL that get to the playoffs and they're like, fuck this, I'm not going to go all out. I'm not getting paid enough money in this game. And players that actually don't play harder in the playoffs because of the fact that they know that they're not getting paid as much money for it.
I would doubt that, because I think once you get to that juncture in the season, that it's about, we've been sweating and bleeding for this for 5 months. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's about more than money at that point. But again, there's no ethical bone in the owner's body when it comes to paying people fairly. Like, so I just did quick math. So $41,000 times 53-man roster. I think it's still 53. They might have added it because of the games. So, but that's $2.1 million. That is nothing compared to what they're actually making for those playoff games.
Yeah, but also you can't put a price on a sweet Letterman jacket that you get to wear on a plane.
I feel like if I was in the studio, I'd throw some at you.
That's priceless, Arian. The memories that you have.
If we win that game, it's epic, because the shits was fire. And more so than anything else, it allowed us not to wear those fucking stiff ass suits that they made us wear. So like when we was going to the NFL, everybody had to wear a suit. Everybody had to wear a suit to go to the game. And it was boring. It was whack. It was not the fashion runway that it is now. Right. And so like everybody had to wear a suit. And so the switch up for that was so refreshing, and it was fire, and it was dope. It was a dope. We just got whooped. It is what it is.
Did you have to wear suits on the plane?
Yes.
Oh, that sucks.
Uncomfortable. No, you talking about guys with, cause some dudes get injured, right? Dudes with like have to wear shorts but still got the suit jacket and the tie on, because they back in the back of the plane icing their knee and shit after the game. Like, it's just goof. It's dumb. Suits, mandatory suits, is stupid. Dumb.